Mr. Chairman, we are live on YouTube in about 10 seconds.
Thank you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask just I see Ms. Starr has joined us. I'm going to ask the attendees before we get started, Mr. Chairman, if they could raise their hand if they're for the first item, which is for the Rico Baca.
Yes.
For the auction house. If you could just raise your hand for that particular item. And then we'll go ahead and move forward. Sherry, we're going to have to, do like we should swear in.
Okay.
All right. We're ready to go.
Okie dokie. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to the August 4th, 2021 meeting of the Lake Worth City Planning and Zoning regular meeting. We'd like Sherry, good evening, good afternoon, to call roll, please.
Sure. Greg Rice.
Here.
Anthony Murata.
Here.
Mark Hum.
Here.
Laura Starr. Yay, I see Laura. Yep. Ed LeBlanc.
Here.
Zaid. I'm not going to try the last name.
Here.
And Juan. Juan, I know you were there. He's here.
Yep.
You have a quorum.
And we do have quite a quorum. Thank you very much. Would you guys like to all stand, and I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance? How about that? I pledge allegiance
To
to
the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Sherry, would you kind of want to fill this in? Do we have any additions, deletions? And if not, we get a motion to accept the agenda as printed.
Yeah, let's accept the.
Okay, yes, we'll accept the agenda as printed. So I'm going to make a motion to do so.
I move to approve the agenda.
Mark approves. Anthony seconds it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, the next thing I'd like to do is we have a new board member.
Yes, we do. Would you
And,
like to introduce him?
Shanti Basha.
Okay. And I'd like to swear him in so he's able to fully participate in the meeting this evening.
Very good. Want to stand up and
Raise your hand.
Sure.
I'll just read it. And all you have to say is, I do, like we're getting married or something like that, whatever.
Okay.
So I do solemnly swear or affirm that I, Zaid
You can do it.
Shamshi Basha.
That's it.
Okay,
Perfect.
will
Yeah.
support, protect, and defend the Constitution and government of the United States and of the state of Florida against all enemies, domestic or foreign, that I will bear true faith, loyalty, and allegiance to the same, and that I am entitled to hold office under the Constitution and the Charter of the City of Lake Worth Beach, and that I will faithfully perform all the duties of the office of appointed member of the Planning and Zoning Board, of which I'm about to enter.
I do affirm.
Thank you.
thank you. Good evening. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. So I was talking to a few people beforehand. I'm an attorney. I moved to Lake Worth in January when my wife and I purchased a home over in Mango Groves, and we just really fell in love with Lake Worth and wanted to get involved locally. Prior to this, my current job, I actually did appeals from local planning and zoning boards at the 15th Circuit as a staff attorney for a year and a half. So I've read the transcripts from this type of meeting, and they always seemed really interesting, and I am very excited to be a part of it.
Well, thank you and welcome you. This is certainly a good meeting for you to cut your teeth in Lake Worth. And welcome to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to note for the record that Mr. Content has joined the meeting at 6:07 p.m.
Yes.
Thank you. There he is.
Yeah.
How you doing, sir?
Excellent. I was on a little before 6 and then all of a sudden my computer went out, but I figured something out.
You know what? That's technology. There you go. Well, welcome, sir.
We have a couple of minutes.
Did anybody take the time to read the minutes from last month's meetings? And if so, did you find any problems, errors, or would you like to make a motion to accept file?
It looks fine to me, so I will move to approve the minutes.
We have
from
a
the-
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. It's the Anthony and Mark show. All those in favor signify by saying yes.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Unanimous, Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The fun part of the program. This
Yes,
is the
Mr.
part of the
Chairman.
program where we're going to ask that if there's anybody either out in the audience, and I don't know if there is, because I can only see these smiling faces, that will be presenting tonight at this meeting. If so, Sherry, would you like to swear any and everybody in?
Yes, give us just a moment to move over the applicants
Or their representatives?
or their representatives, yes.
Yes. Representatives?
Yes.
Yes.
If everybody can just hang tight for a second. We're gonna need to swear you in before we start the agenda item. So you will need to turn your video on, your audio on. If you can just bear with us and be patient, it's a little cumbersome, but,
There we go. There's 3 smiling faces.
Where is the?
Do we have them all on?
Mr. Payne, I'm having difficulty promoting you. If you're joining by phone, I will not be able to promote you, to provide testimony. this evening. So if you can join later by video, that would be best. Okay, if everybody can turn on their video, to see you. That would be Mr. Witzel, Hanson, Mr. Glidden. Mr. Glidden, we're still having difficulty seeing you. Turn on your video and unmute yourself. Okay, we're gonna
Okay,
have to catch.
We'll proceed, and then Mr. Glidden, if you give testimony later, we'll swear you in.
Thank you.
So
Okay,
if
Sherry.
anyone does plan to give testimony, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes.
I do.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much. We
Mr.
do
Chairman,
have
if I
proof
could just
of-
have the floor for 2 seconds, just because we have a full house. We're going to go ahead and make the folks score on the next agenda item, A and B. And then we will first address the auction house item. Okay?
Aaron, you want to repeat that for me? We're gonna do.
Yes, so just let me make everyone an attendee for the next item, and then
Okay.
we'll address the conditional use.
Okey doke. Aaron, are you in the chamber, the city chamber?
Yes, sir. The only person I have for this item is in the Carrie Rose camp, with 3 individuals. So, Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Okey dokey. Is this? Aaron, so I'm clear on this. Are we going to go in order of the agenda? Or we're gonna go to do the modern auction first?
The order of the agenda is the modern auction first, Mr. Chairman.
Okey dokey, well, mine says that, okay. That's fine. Any board members disclosures?
Nope.
I've got nothing.
Nothing. Nothing for me, nothing. And for the benefit of the new members on the board, this is the portion, and I doubt that in this case there would be any tonight, but if you've talked with anybody, especially any of the applicants, either for or against or whatever, in these two cases, now would be the time just to disclose you have talked and the brief nature of your conversation. If there is none, there's none, which is good. Okie dokie. Thank you. Then let's get started here. First case, PZB board 20-005-00004. A request by Rico Baca, 5908 Georgia LLC, for consideration of a conditional use permit to allow an auction house that's less than 7,500 square feet at 1209, 1215, and 1217 North Dixie Highway within the mixed-use downtown Dixie Highway zoning district. Property control numbers are as followed: 38-43-44-21-15, -378-0140. Second one, 38-43-44-21-15-378-0130, and 38-43-44-21-15-378-0110. Okay, Aaron, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Greg has stated, this is item for consideration for conditional use permit for an auction house of less than 7,500 square feet, located at 1209, 1215, and 1217 on North Dixie Highway. This is within the mixed-use Dixie Highway district. Just gonna mute some of the folks, the participants. It's just there's getting some feedback here. So here's the site location. Just again between the 12th and 13th blocks of North Dixie Highway. Here's some of the existing conditions. Part of the conditional use will include this single family structure, as well as this commercial structure, and the parking lot to the south. Again, you can see a bird's eye view image of the subject site. The surrounding uses are all in the same zoning district and land use category. You may recall there was the vacant building that was previously used as a private school across the street. To the west are single family residences and a parking lot, as well as retail and auto repair to the north, office to the south. So this particular application is consistent with the comprehensive plan, the strategic plan, the LDRs, general findings of harmony with the LDRs and protection of the public interest, our review criteria, and are consistent with our specific standards for all conditional use. I know we have some new board members, so I'll just take a moment just to talk about the structure of our staff reports. So all of our staff reports, the first page is kind of our request and the summary and background of the information. And then you'll see, again, this general background on the history of the project. And then also included in the staff report is a table outlining consistency with the land development requirements. And then under the table, we have kind of special subject area matters summarizing basically some of the key issues or areas to highlight for this particular project. So in our code, we have certain what are review criteria, and that's what consistent with the general findings to harmony with the LDRs and protection of the public interest. That's a section in our code, and it's a set of criteria that we review project against. projects against, as well as the specific standards for all conditional uses. This conditional use was reviewed against those criteria, and there's a staff analysis provided for each criteria in your staff report. So that's analysis. We don't go through each criteria. That's all provided in the backup. Okay, so staff is recommending approval of the conditional use with the conditions outlined in page 8 of your report. This particular conditional use is an auction house, and it will be part of a complex of including a retail component that will occur in the house. So the auction house is slated for the commercial building only. Walking you through the conditions of approval here, which I think are particularly pertinent for this application. The applicant wanted to move forward with the conditional use and not currently with the site plan. Typically, we try to bring them before this board together. The applicant can speak to it further, but basically they stated to us that there is a financing issue why they need to separate the applications. So they're here before for the conditional use. More particularly, our main condition of approval is that site plan approval is required before the business license can be issued. And you can see in the conditions of approval, which again are in your staff report on page 8, that the site plan approval and installation of exterior improvements as required by said site plan shall be required to be installed prior to the issuance of the business license. Further, site plan improvements shall bring the property to the furthest extent possible into compliance with the city's LDRs and major thoroughfare design guidelines. This is an existing property. It's inherently non-conforming. When we go through the site plan process, we work towards compliance to the maximum extent possible with our LDRs and our major thoroughfare design guidelines. Areas in particular we are asking the applicant to pay attention to when they come back before you for site plan would be, excuse me, the architectural and design, landscaping, impervious surface, refuse, parking and site circulation, lighting. And we're requiring a traffic letter because their applicant is proposing a small addition to the existing commercial structure, which is not under consideration, only the use. The addition cannot basically facilitate a use greater than the maximum of 7,500 square feet. A unity of title is also going to be required. So that concludes staff presentation. I know the applicant is here, and if you have any questions for us.
Aaron, and you guys have been very upfront with what your needs are, and we don't find them to be egregious. So
I'm sorry, can you state your name for the record?
Please.
Rico Baca. This is Wade Terwilliger, and this is Carrie Rose. So we're very happy to, we think Lake Worth is a great place, and we're happy to invest in it and move our business there. We also live on Gulfview Road. We moved there about a year ago. So we're rah for Lake Worth.
Okay. And so are many of us in the room. Is this all your presentation? Is that your presentation?
Well, I think our presentation was the application.
Yeah, we weren't told to, if there's something you'd like to know, we're happy to, but you have all the materials in front of you. I'm not really sure we understand the process.
Okay.
We filled out the application. We were told to be at this meeting in case you had questions.
Well, I'm sure there'll be questions. I have questions.
Sure.
And I'll start. What type of auctioning do you do or currently, or do you intend to do at this new location?
Our business is called Palm Beach Modern Auctions. We specialize in the 20th century, primarily art, decorative arts, which is vases, things like that, smalls, and then design furniture. So we're an upscale auction house.
Okay.
Yep.
And
Our average retail, I think I put in there is about 2,500 to 3,500 per lot. Most of our lots are, we only do 3 major auctions a year,
Okay,
which encompass about 500 lots. We're trying to get it down to about 400 lots. It's a little more comfortable. And then we might do generally 2 to 3 small, what we call boutique auctions, which are held during like the weekday on like a Thursday generally. And those run around 200 lots. Again, those go pretty quickly. Our major events are always on Saturdays. So 3 Saturdays of the year is our major auctions.
okay. Where is your auction house now, or do you have one?
Yes, we do. We're currently located in West Palm Beach at 417 Bunker Road, which anyone's welcome to come by and see our operations. We're currently setting up for a small boutique sale, so it actually is going to look pretty good in the next week or so.
Well, good, that's what we want to see it at its finest.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Right. So
I'm
she's
sure
showing some
you do
samples.
too.
She's showing you some samples of some of this happens to be art that we've sold in the past. Our highest valued item to date was a Sam Francis painting at $500,000, and we were very excited to sell that. We have you can kind of see we have a very upscale clientele, although the public's invited to come. Well, we love to have anyone come.
On your Saturday events, what
Mhm.
is the average size crowd in your studio or your auction house?
So in the last year with the pandemic, or the last 18 months, we've gone to literally 0. But that is not our preference is to have an audience, which is generally can be anywhere from 50, 75, somewhere around there.
Okay.
And we would like to institute it again, although it doesn't look like the fall is going to be, it could still be problematic. But anyway, we've operated very well because all our auctions are posted online on various, they're called platforms, where people can bid with their phone, their computers, whatever. And that's what and you can also bid by phone and by leaving an absentee bid. So that's what we've been doing the last 18 months. And it's been very successful. In fact, we had probably our best year ever. Yep.
Doing the virtual meetings you're talking about?
They're essentially right. So on auction day, what happens is you could go to your screen, register to participate in our auction via one of the computer platforms, is
Right.
I can describe it. What'll happen is the item comes up, for example, the Sorel Etrog that's showing right now at 57.2, it'll come up. You'll see that come up on your screen, and you'll be able to bid live as Rico Baca, the auctioneer, is auctioning the item off.
Okay.
Yep. And you can bid. You could also bid by phone or an absentee, meaning you just leave a left bid.
This is a question that I'm going to start asking everybody. Have you been vaccinated yourself?
We have. Our entire staff has been vaccinated, and as owners of a business, we really appreciate that everyone has been vaccinated here. We've just reinstated mask policy again, unfortunately, with the general public coming in. We involve our staff on all these decisions. Each one of our staff people, by the way, are active participants in our business. They all get a percentage of every sale we have plus their salaries. So we have a very engaged group of younger people than me and Rico.
Are you going to be buying this property on Dixie Highway, or are you leasing it?
We're going to be buying the property.
Will you be adding a second location, or will you be moving
No.
your current location?
No,
in
we'll be
Lake Worth?
leaving this location and we'll be moving to Lake Worth.
One's enough.
One's enough.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is.
By the way, most of our items, 99%, are consigned from people throughout the world. Our biggest markets are, of course, Palm Beach, this area, plus New York, California, Texas. Yeah.
How long have you been in business?
We've been in business 12 years. But our gallery's been in business 20 years, which is called Objects 20C. Yep. Right now, we're considered the largest specialty boutique auction house in the United States. We have 3 main competitors who also specialize in 20th century decorative arts and art. So we've got someone on the West Coast in LA, that's one of the majors. We have one in New Jersey, and then we're the other one in the South. We also compete with Sotheby's and Christie's, although of course that's a way different operation.
Right, I'm sure.
They're a generalist auction house, by the way. We're a boutique auction house. So we
Right,
don't take everything.
good. Okay, board members, any questions? I can't see you, so I'm gonna rely on somebody there to tell me who has their hand in the
I think
air.
Mark's got some.
I just wanted to hear the guy talk like an auctioneer that I.
Oh.
I don't talk like that. I talk more like Sotheby's and Christie's, if you've ever been to one of those auctions.
Now that I'm not.
I have 10,000 looking for 11. Thank you for the 11. Now looking for 12. We have 12 in the front. Now looking for 13. So I, extend an invitation to come to our next sale if you would like.
We like to give, when you're buying expensive items, we like to give you time to get your hand up.
That's called a bid call. And a bid call is designed to create time between one bid and the next bid. So you can either talk like, you're selling rabbits, or you can just say anything you want to say. Just keep saying it long enough until the next bid comes through. So I don't know how to actually do that.
The fast talk is primarily used in auction companies that are doing many, many items in a sale and are generally low price. They've got to move through them quickly. Box lots, things like that. That's not our style, and that's not although those are very good operations. That's just not what we do.
I get it, no problem.
We also have an older clientele. I think our average age is, I would guess, somewhere around 55, 60. And the truth is, we also are operating all these platforms. We've got technology issues, so we've got to get that data in live. So there has to be time. It can't be done quickly. Each lot sells, by the way, within about 60 seconds.
Wow, good for you.
I will just add, Mr. Chairman, this is Erin Cedar for the record, that in part of the conditions of approval, if you wanted to kind of circle back to that, a minimum of 14 parking spaces shall be provided. The site actually is probably one of the few sites on Dixie Highway that does actually meet its minimum parking requirement in the code. And if you were further concerned about parking for large events, if you wanted to require them to bring back a parking plan to you, in the site plan approval, that would be within your purview to add that condition.
So I saw that a valet anticipated for the 3 large events a year. Would that,
Yes.
the specifics of that operation, where the valet parks the cars, that type of thing, would that go in the parking plan?
That would go in the parking plan. We'd like to add that condition.
And that sparks another question from me. Where did you get your aerial shots? Where did you get your 2 aerial shots that were part of your package that you submitted to the city? You have one that looks like came from Papa, from the property control.
We
And then you
get
had,
our
had one-
aerial images from Palm Beach County, Greg, and we have a data share agreement for GIS services, and so we have access to the Palm Beach County pictometry. And so that's available as well online to the public.
right. Okay. What I was getting at, the one had the school with the portables right next to it, aerial shot, and the second shot, the shot on the right side page, had the portables removed. So I was wondering where the 2 shots came from. They weren't taken, I'm sure, at the same time.
No, we're at the mercy of the county for when they decide to run aerials. So,
Right.
so the data is 2 different data sets, and
Yes, they did.
they're not done up the same year.
Right. That was my question. Any of the commissioners have questions that you would like to ask, or is there anybody from the public?
I have some questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you planning to build this property out at all, or are you just going to go in there the way that it is?
I missed yes. We've also are in the process of filing I think it's called
Major site plan.
major site plan to add approximately, I think 20, to keep it under the 7,500, which will house the office portion of the business.
So what's
How big is-
currently on the site?
Vacant.
Currently, there's the commercial building, the parking lot, and then there's an existing single-family home. So the commercial building will house the auction house, and that will include an addition up to but less than 7,500 square feet in total for the existing structure, as well as the proposed addition, which will come back before this board as a major site plan. You will also approve the site plan. The single-family home will be converted into a retail space for retail and for sale items. It'll be kind of function as an extension of a business, but as a retail business.
So will that retail business where the house is going to be converted, is that going to be something that's open every day?
It'll have to operate as a retail business. So they need this approval to move forward with their financing. When they come back in, we might have to bring the retail back as a component of the auction house business because the use is greater than 7,500 square feet. We're looking at the code to determine if the use might have to come back. They're kind of here before you out of turn without the complete package we normally get because of their financing constraints. So that's why if you look at their conditions of approval, there is a condition of approval for a site plan approval and exterior improvements prior to the issuance of a business license for this business. So they cannot have a legal business license and open their doors before they finish their exterior improvements. And I don't believe that they want to. I've seen their building on Bunker, and they've taken an old industrial building. They've done a nice job painting it with murals, and it's very tidy. I took a drive by.
Okay, so back to the applicants. Could you tell me what you plan on doing with the that space? What's your plan? Are you planning on opening a retail business that's open every day from whatever time to whatever time?
The gallery is currently open. Currently it's just online. We backed because the auction business took so much to develop. It's currently just sitting with inventory and it's online only. In the past, we've rented a spot, of course. We've had a location. So that it's going to operate 10 to 5 Monday through Friday.
How many square feet are you in now?
We're in 7,500 square feet right now.
Okay.
So what will the square footage be of the retail space?
I think it came in at 1,600 square feet or something. We had no proposed add-on to that.
So what's the difference between the items that you sell out of the retail space versus the items that you sell out of the auction space?
There is no difference. It's still 20th century furniture, design, decorative arts. And our idea with the building, the facade on the front of the building hopefully will tie in with the house somehow. That's the architect's job, to somehow unify this look on Dixie so that we have a nice presence. It doesn't make a lot of sense that, to me, the look of like this industrial looking building, which serves our purpose very well, and then this kind of home. So he's looking at some facade ideas for us to tie the two together, along with the landscaping. So you get an integrated kind of visual on our operations. You know, I don't know, Rico and I just imagine, first of all, because of our client base, we want the building to look great. That's it's gotta look great because you don't get $500,000 pieces of art if you don't know what you're doing. And we're hoping that the building becomes part of our credibility and, you know.
The space that you're currently in on Bunker Ranch, I'm familiar with the building. Do you own that building or are you renting?
No, we do not. No, we rented the space about 11 years ago. I think we put in about 200,000 into the space. We amortized it over the last 10 years. We're very happy with where we've been, but it's time to buy something. And I think this serves our purpose.
So that's why you're leaving.
Yes, yeah. And, truthfully, we were building a business. When we came into this operation, we had just started. in the auction business. We had run some test auctions to see whether we knew what we were doing. And truthfully, we didn't 10 years ago. But we've learned a lot. It's a highly competitive industry, and it has taken us literally 8 years to figure out how to make this run profitably.
Well, I'm looking at this picture that's on the screen right now, and there's some big round thing in the middle of the floor.
A sculpture.
Okay, sorry.
It's a modern sculpture.
Do you have large items like that you plan on storing outside or displaying outside?
At our current location, we have no outside display area, so we have not used it. That wasn't really part of our intent to put stuff outside. Again, we're hoping that the landscaping, our walkways, we want that to be clean. You know, we're modern, 20th century is modern. So we imagine this kind of very clean, uncluttered.
There's been some discussion about a garden between the main building and the house to increase the green areas on the property. And I envision, as well as Wade, if we have these big green areas, that we would not be storing something like this. We would install sculptures and create a sculpture garden, not necessarily have a bunch of sculptures stacking up in the side of the building, which is what you're asking, really. Are we going to be storing this kind of stuff outside? And the answer is no.
Well, it would be nice to see items displayed.
Right.
As opposed to items stored.
Right. It would be an installation. It would not be storage.
All I can say is we haven't done it to date because this particular building does not have, in fact, it has no green space. By the way, it has no parking except 4 parking spaces in the front. Here at this location, we use valet. We average about 2 to 3 people a day that come into our operation. It's never been an issue. The valets handle things on Saturdays for us.
Our goal is to make the space as comfortable for the rich to drive in. Because if they're not comfortable to drive into the parking lot and feel safe and feel like this is a place they belong, they're not going to come to the auction. They're not going to consign to us. So our goal is really about creating an upscale environment. It's the only way we can get items and sell items is if our space has that feel.
I do want to say though, I know we brought up some big sales we've had. We have items that are $500. We don't have many that are 100 or 50 or 75, but we do. It's not prohibited. And I think we have a really nice mix actually. And we have clients that range from the very wealthy to the not so wealthy. It's just, sometimes we get stuck on these big items because of course that's where we make our money.
And I wouldn't be ashamed of that if I was you.
That's where we make our money. That's how we pay our team.
That's how you pay your taxes.
That's right. And that's how we pay our taxes.
How many employees do you anticipate having on site?
We are not getting bigger. In fact, this crew has asked us to please not add anyone because they seem to be very cohesive. We sure like them. Rico and I aren't looking for a bigger size company, no more locations. So it's 5 plus Rico and I, so 7 total. And we're planning it stays there really, if we can. We don't anticipate. In the auction business, it's interesting because you don't have to have more stuff to do more, to generate more revenues. You just simply change your mix of the goods coming in. So you'll just, and that's our idea. We just keep improving the quality of the items we're representing.
So you have your own in-house IT person that updates your website and all that stuff, I'm guessing.
We do.
We have an art director, Matt Godwin. He also takes care of our technical.
We have an in-house photographer.
We have a professional photographer. We have an administrator. That's Carrie next to me. And then we have Jess, who's our
She's out of frame right now, tell her.
Oh, there's
There she
Sherry.
is.
She's
Oh, by the way, she's here tonight because she's keeping us organized. And then we have Erica, our head researcher. And then there's Rico and I. I take care of the operations. Rico's the guy on stage, the one you generally meet when you come in.
I have another question for you. Do you know what style the house, the single family home is that's on the property now, your property? The Dixie Highway property.
It's just a CBS structure. Is that what you mean?
Kind of like a ranch,
Yeah.
I guess.
But there's okay, it's just a.
It's traditional, maybe?
I don't know.
I think it's not, I think it's going to be a relatively easy thing to, for the architect to incorporate the facade on the front of that building to the front of the house.
Right.
I don't think that's going to be a complicated, and we want that because the bigger it looks, the better it looks.
Well, it's
Absolutely.
gonna look better too. I actually think it's weird to see a house on Dixie. I think it looks weird.
Well,
especially-
you'll see more than you think.
Yeah, it's especially between two commercial buildings, but
Right.
it is what it is. And we have a way to utilize it. Actually, I always wanted the gallery to be in a like home-like situation because I thought it'd be really fun for clients to be able to come in and see how the things are used within like a home setting. So I'm particularly excited to get the gallery back at some point when it's time. We want to go back in when this is all done. We want this ready to go so we can invite the public to see the great project that we've done.
This picture that I'm looking at, obviously there's an auction going on. Yeah, where is this? Is this in that same building that you had the picture
Yeah.
with the sculpture? Okay.
Yeah, lots changed. We don't, we now have probably eight tables with white tablecloths and flowers on them. And we have cartel lucite chairs. And then there are rows of those style chairs because our dealers and people that are in the business don't want to be front and forward. They tend to hang back. But yeah, that's our center. The audience is in the center. Oh, by the way, we cater it, we valet it.
Right.
And then everything's set up into settings. Most of the time, that main building is basically housing stuff until we have our auction.
Right.
There's no reason anyone goes into this area you're looking at right now is actually blocked off. If you were to come in, you could see it, but yeah, there's a sign saying, please don't enter just because we're processing goods.
And we also, because sometimes the auction, when there's 500 lots, it can last for 8-9 hours. So at about 5 hours, we bring in a massage therapist to do massages, chair massages. And mainly, because people will come to an auction and they'll sit there the whole day. And so this is a way for them to pep them up a little bit so they make it to the end of the auction. And also for the staff, because it's a really, really long day for the staff. But it's another thing, our little thing that we do, to make us a little bit different, a little quirkier.
Auctions are very, very fun. We're always excited because that's our big payday. We've worked really hard. It takes us 3 to 4 months to get an auction ready, to fully document the art pieces and the design pieces. And, we've worked hard. We produce a catalog. We use advertising all over the world. We've been in the New York Times, all the major have covered us because we had the Studio 54 auction of Steve Rubel.
CBS News sent a crew down to interview us the day before the sale. We were on the Charlie Rose and the Gayle King show for 4 minutes the day before the sale, which was really big for us. I think it's big for any business, but for us, it was especially exciting. We had newspapers from all over the world calling us for interviews. It was very exciting. And one of the things, I can pump up Wade a little bit because Wade is the one who has a business degree and a degree in marketing. So with the inception of our business, even back in 2003, when we started the gallery, the focus has always been on marketing and websites and database and client gathering, you know? And so when we do things like any of our marketing, like one of the more interesting things about marketing is why are we different than Sotheby's? This is part of my pitch when I talk to people. And they say, well, what makes you think you're better than Sotheby's and Christie's? Well, the reason is because we do things different and we're more boutique-y. When we use the word boutique, that means we're really specific and we're focused on the clients that we have and the items that we're representing. So we're different in that way. Like, you know, we can target Paris, France, because we've got a French painting with Google. When, you know, we look at our data, you know, 5, 6, 7 days before sale, and that French painting doesn't have any hits on it. We have our data will tell us if there's been interest, and we can divert our ad campaigns. This is not something that the average auction house, the major auction house, has the time to do, nor do they care. So we're different in that respect, very, very different.
I'll just mention that we have about 10 folks waiting for the next item. If you are ready to move on to the board discussion.
Sorry about that.
I'll keep talking. That's what I do.
He does sales. Sorry.
Aaron, let him sell. Come on.
The voice of a salesman.
Exactly. Gee.
We're just looking for a yes. That's all.
That's it. I was going to, here's a line you can use next time when you're discussing this about the bringing in chiropractor to do chair massages or whatever, shoulder massages. You can tell them you got that idea from Jimmy Buffett. He hires a doctor. He hires a doctor from Lake Worth to go on the road with him, to give him and I guess the crew and all massages before they go out on stage.
Wow.
It must be working, because there's a 70-something-year-old guy out there running around like he's still a teenager. So hats off to you. You get a big mark from me from that.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Planning and Zoning Board, do you have any other questions for him? Andrew, you fine? Well, I guess nobody has any questions. Would anybody like to make an attempt?
I believe Mr. Compton has his hand raised. He was having connectivity issues.
Okay, I didn't see it. Go ahead, Juan.
Okay, my big thing is, everyone's spoken about the business and things, but I really love what the applicant does, and I think it's great. It's great for Lake Worth. Sorry, I just ran here. I've known this auction house from the outside, and it's done some really good things in West Palm Beach. One of the things is, though, I just hope that they're ready for a very rigorous planning and zoning review. And
I do too.
that Lake Worth has become pretty synonymous with pretty tough planning and zoning to get in the sense that the parking requirements are very urban here. The heights, the amount of space in the negotiation you may have to do with your spaces. I think it's a long road, and I just hope you guys are ready for that. That's it.
Did you hear that, gentlemen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And he is absolutely right. We are sometimes a tough, sometimes a stubborn city to get to know and to try to do business with, and try to spend money and try to create jobs with. But if you can put up with the early entry situations that you're going to be going through, most people do find it beneficial to be here. So just wear your track shoes and be ready.
Will do.
Hired an architect, and the architect has come in for pre-application meetings with us. So they've been working on their planning and zoning application Just, this is a little bit earlier, so we couldn't quite do the timing because of their financing issue. So they are aware of our major thoroughfare design guidelines, and
That's good.
and their architect, Mr. Payne, has agreed to make some changes based on what we've seen so far. And they're working on bringing an application forward. And we're hoping, if everything goes well, that they will be in front of you in October. So
Wow.
very hopeful because we're awaiting their submittal.
Well,
So we're very
that's-
excited, and I think, and they've gotten some good feedback from us as far as some specific detailed feedback, but also they're going to unify the design and they're going to improve the pervious. Their parking actually is surprisingly okay. It's probably one of the only places in the whole city that it's okay. But they have, because they are an existing non-conforming structure, they are we'll be looking to bring them further into compliance. So we will, we've kind of given them some initial comments, and they're prepared and they're working on their site plan. So.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen of the Planning and Zoning Board, would anybody care to make an attempt? We didn't talk much about the conditions of approval, as we all know, and I think that's what our job is to do here. So do we want to take a minute and look at some of the things? I do believe that that would be certainly prudent on our part to say on their special events and things that they line up with a car parking service or something, means of moving cars around, parking cars, not in the neighborhoods right behind or across the street, but find businesses that are closed on Saturday or Sunday or whenever these events might take place.
If I may just add, one of the recommendations of staff in the staff report is if you all would like to consider them bringing back a parking plan. And as part of the parking plan with the site plan, I would recommend that come back concurrently with the site plan. And
Okay.
then what we do in these kind of instances is if they're going to have a valet service, they'll need a shared parking, an offsite shared parking agreement.
Right.
So there would be a valet service to like park in the neighborhood per se. It would be they would need to have probably like a shared parking agreement on they usually do these events on the weekend, so it'd be probably with another commercial business or something that has a different time frame. So we're talk to them about that. They're aware of that, as that they're going to need to kind of have a parking plan, and they already do valet where they are. So that would be our recommendation for adding that condition.
And the residential will turn into a commercial once the store is in, that they're selling the retail, so
Yes.
that'll be changed around, right?
Right, so they're coming in, the commercial building is smaller. They're gonna do an addition to the commercial building to make it just shy of 7,500 square feet. That will be a retail structure, and what we're probably gonna have to do is bring actually back the retail structure as another use review, because it's over 7,500 square feet as a whole. And to add conditions to that retail use to make sure that it operates and functions as a retail use and not as an extension of that. So what we're looking at, what we need to do with that,
Right.
if we need to bring it back
I
or
just
not.
figured, I knew there was something.
No, I have to over-explain, so I'm sorry.
No, no, Right.
You're doing your job, Aaron.
I'm seeing we're done.
No, it's
We're
my
not done.
planners, that's how you're trained.
Anthony, we haven't heard anything from you tonight. You've got to have some pearls of wisdom to share with the group.
Oh, I found most things were in the staff report. I thought it was pretty thorough.
So did
I
I.
had no questions on that one. So I'll go ahead and make a motion. I move to approve PZB project number 21-005-00004 with staff recommended conditions for a conditional use permit. I'm going to add, because I don't see it in here, under the parking, we got here parking and site circulation. Going to add that when they do come back for a site plan,
They would provide a parking.
that it will contain the parking plan, including some form of shared parking agreement and other recommended staff conditions at that time. So for a conditional use permit to allow an auction house use less than 7,500 square feet at 1209, 1215, and 1217 North Dixie Highway, the application meets the conditional use criteria based on the data analysis. And staff report.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second,
We have all kinds of seconds, okay? Pick one, Sherry, and I'll call for the vote. You want to do a roll call vote, Sherry?
Sure, I'll be glad to do that.
This is the second, Sherry.
The second, Laura.
Okay. Second goes with Laura.
Greg,
Yes, I would vote yes.
Anthony,
Aye.
Mark,
I,
Juan,
Aye.
Zaid,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
and who am I missing? All right, I'm missing
Laura.
Laura. Did I mention that? It's unanimous. You have 7-0.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you for working with us. We look forward to finishing this project.
don't be surprised if one or more of us probably stop into your current location in the
We'd love
next
to see you.
couple of weeks.
Please
Come
do.
by.
Okie dokie. Well, thank you and welcome
You'll
to
see
Lake
Carrie
Worth.
first. Bye, thank you.
Bye, thank
Have a
you.
great day. Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, go get your money lined up before the economy dries up.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, moving right along, and this might be interesting then. Next, new business B is a request by Colter in hearing, a land development firm, on behalf of the Lord's Place for consideration of a residential urban plan development, major site plan, conditional use of permit, and a right-of-way abandonment to allow for the construction of a 7-unit multifamily residence at 825 South Federal Highway, 827 South Federal Highway, and a portion of 9th Avenue South within the mixed-use Federal Highway zoning district, commonly known as Burkle Place 3. Is it Burkle or Buckle? Burkle. Burkle Place 3. Anything on the back? Okay.
This particular item, Burkle Place 3, came before you and on your March 3rd, 2021 public hearing.
Remember it well.
Item, what you voted to recommend denial and gave the applicant some things to think about. So they revised their application. They have resubmitted, so they have re-reviewed through staff. They are back before you. There is an affected party for this item. Ms. Portia Cully, who's here this evening, and she has also requested a continuance for this item. I'm going to turn at this time everything over to Elizabeth Lenahan, our board attorney, and she will walk you through the next part of the procedure because I'm just going to let her do that.
Don't play liar. Let her play. Okay.
All right, hi, everybody. Is this on?
No, just, it's in the room.
Okay.
Just speak loud.
Okay, perfect. So,
Would you like to state your name and all for the record?
Beth Lenahan for, counsel for the board here tonight. So, there is an affected party who has applied for continuance under your code. Affected parties are automatically granted a continuance if they desire it. The affected party who has applied for this continuance was also an affected party the first time this came before you. So, but there has been a challenge of the affected party status by the applicant. So we just wanted to let you all know kind of the way that this is all set out. Affected parties under your code have a granted continuance once they request it. Affected parties are more than just interested parties. Interested parties are within that 400 feet of interest. Affected parties have to say, yes, I'm in that 400 feet, but also I have this other thing that makes me an affected party because I have greater interest than even just the people within that 400 feet. So I think that it may, because we've had a challenge, you will want to hear testimony from the affected party applicant and also from the applicant as to the reason for their challenge. So that's what we would suggest at this time.
Greg, may I ask for clarification?
Yes, please.
So to clarify, then our first step is to hear each of the two parties on that affected party
Correct.
status before we go into this.
Correct.
Just want to be very clear for all of us.
And just just to add is that we have historically had a lot of deference in affected parties at this level, procedurally. So that's just kind of the background on that. So Elizabeth, do you want to have David go first because he's challenging the affected party status, or would you want Ms. Cully to go first?
I think Ms. Cully should go first and present why she is an affected party.
Okay. Ms. Cully, if you could start your video and unmute and just introduce yourself and identify where you live and why you are an affected party.
So my name is Portia Cully. I was here the first time around. I live at 902 South Federal, catty corner to the property. And I mean, there's no reason for me to speak if I'm not going to be granted the affected party. Like, I don't want, you know what I mean? They're arguing I'm not an affected party. I am. So why don't you guys let them speak and you guys decide? You guys have rules about this, that because I am within that guidance, that you allow me the continuance. So it's really up to you. I don't want to have to pitch for why I am an affected party. I did so last time. You guys decide. It's your rules.
I agree. Can we hear from our attorney, what are the parameters of an affected party? Is it, I'm sure there's a measurement or so. Is it 1,000 feet, or is it a block, or is it a half a mile? What is it from the center of the properties that are in question? Can we answer that?
Sure. So your affected party definition is a party whose interest would be adversely affected and is aggrieved such that under Florida law it has standing to challenge the action of the relevant board decision. The applicant is an affected party, and an affected party is different than an interested property owner. And the interested property owner is the owner of property within the geographic proximity set forth in the relevant code section. So on the 400 feet is what makes her an interested property owner. An effective property owner, she has to say that she has more than just that interest as an interested property owner within 400 feet, that she's super close to, more than, or, less than 50 feet away. It is a greater magnitude that would make it her effective property owner or affected party. If there's anything else that she wants to note, that she could argue that she is in that tighter class of affected person instead of interested person, that's what we're looking for.
So
How many feet do you think you are from this property? Or have you had it measured?
66 feet from the property, Mr. Chairman.
She's 56 feet, 5'6"?
66 feet.
Is it a townhome? I'm just looking at the map.
Yes,
It's
it
a
is.
townhome. Kitty corner.
Okay.
Okay, is it north or south of this property?
Southeast,
Southeast, okay.
more east, southeast-ish, it's
It's
across the street.
It's across the street.
Now, in addition to the fact that you're 56, 62, whatever the number is, feet from the property, what else are you using to say, because you have to have neighbors. If you're a townhouse, you obviously have neighbors. If it just being at that location was enough to trigger the affected party status.
It's not just her neighbor, it's greater than the public at large. She has to
Right, I understand.
not greater than the townhome, so it's greater than, let's say, a constituent who lives in another part of the city.
Right,
So that's what the threshold would be.
okay, but what? Here's my problem, just because it's always been there doesn't mean it's gonna always be there. Use that for an example. Is there, do you have any other compelling circumstances that have motivated you to get dressed, come down here this evening and say, I'm an affected party, I want to delay in this matter?
I think what you're looking for is that you are that close in proximity, but what about the project is going to aggrieve you? What makes you an aggrieved party that you will have some sort of harm to you? That's what we just need to put it on the record.
Can you answer that for us?
Oh, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So like I said, I live catty corner, and I'm concerned about my property values. I'm concerned with sorry. That's my dog. Essentially, I'm
You said a rock?
yeah, he's a little pit bull, so he's crazy. So essentially my concern is around property values. I'd like to sell my property, and I'm concerned that that when I go to sell it, that I'm not going to be able to do so because the property isn't following the guidelines, and it's not it's depreciating my value.
Okay. Have you had a real estate appraiser, not somebody that's just got a real estate license and come out and tell you it's going to be worth 10% less or 30% less or whatever? Have you had any? You have nothing of that to back you up on it, okay?
No.
Are there any other concerns aside from the fact that you don't think you'll be able to get as much money when it does come time for you to move and sell than what you're stating right now? Because right now that's an unknown. You've not tried to sell it, so you don't know if there's what you would get for it today or next month or next year. So you're basing this mostly on assumptions, your assumptions, I'm sure. So
I mean, Craig, I'm either affected or I'm not. I'm worried about my property value. That's my point. So they're your rules. You guys decide whether or not I am. They're saying I'm not. So it's up to you. Like that was the whole beef last time around. It was issues around how the whole project was being done, them taking over the right of way. They're doing it again. It's up to you guys. You guys decide. You created the major thoroughfare guidelines. They're not sticking to them again. They're saying that they're only guidelines, they're not rules. You guys decide. It's up to you.
Why don't we let Mr. Millage speak? Portia, are you, because it's really about Ms. Portia and Mr. Millage, and then discussion by the board. So Portia, do you have anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, I mean, I just think that the whole thing is a little bit sort of unfair. Like we got this announcement like we did last time. We didn't get a lot of time, and I really haven't been able to go over it. I haven't been able to talk to my neighbors to see what they thought. Last time around, we were able to get a lot of neighborhood interest and explain to them what the impacts were that were going to be to them, specifically around parking. And we got a lot of neighborhood interest about it. I haven't had the time to do that. I haven't had time to talk to my neighbors about how this is going to impact them. So essentially what you guys are doing here is you are going to be approving or not approving the whole project without a lot of neighborhood input. That's it.
Okay.
Mr. Millage?
Good evening. David Millage for the record, 1932 Commerce Lane, Suite 1, Jupiter, Florida. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, the Lord's Place, objecting to Mrs. Coley's request to be considered an affected party. As your city attorney had stated, the city defines an affected party as a party whose interests would be adversely affected and is aggrieved such that under Florida law, it has standing to challenge the action of the relevant city commission, board, or agency. An applicant is an affected party, and an affected party is different than an interested party or interested property owner. Ms. Coley stated in a request for a continuance that she is concerned that the property is not conforming to major thoroughfare guidelines and therefore will affect my property value. Ms. Coley cannot cite to a single code provision for which this project does not comply with. However, this project has been reviewed by the city staff, who are professional land planners and engineers. And pursuant to the staff report, this project meets all criteria of the code. Furthermore, I would like to direct you to page 11 of the staff report. The 13th criterion for a major site plan pertains to the protection of property values. Again, the city's professional staff concluded that the project meets this criteria. I'll state this again. In the opinion of the city staff, this project will not negatively impact property values. I would like to again point back to the city's definition of an affected party. The party is aggrieved such that under Florida law, it has standing to challenge. So this is what is required by the city's code to be considered an affected party. Now, under Florida law, the First District Court of Appeals in the case of Donovan versus the City of Destin found that the appellant, who is the alleged affected party, failed to demonstrate through competent, substantial evidence in the record that they were adversely affected. Further, and this is closer, in the case of Martin County Conservation versus Martin County, the District Court of Appeal ruled that a party must demonstrate that it is adversely affected and that the mere speculation of future adverse impacts is insufficient. So again, the mere speculation of future adverse impacts is insufficient. So Ms. Coley has merely stated she has concerns about her property values, which might be impacted due to alleged nonconformance with the major thoroughfare guidelines. I mean, this is wholly unfounded. She has provided absolutely no evidence as required by the courts. Furthermore, staff has concluded this project is compliant with the city's code and specifically concluded this project does not negatively impact property values. Ms. Coley's speculation of adverse impacts is insufficient. So therefore, on behalf of the applicant, we respectfully request for Ms. Coley to be denied her request to be considered an affected party.
Elizabeth, now that both the petition, both the affected party and the applicant have presented, what would you advise next? Should we go into a board discussion?
So yes, I think you should go into a board discussion and determine whether or not you would grant Ms. Polly her requested affected party status.
And would the board be able to ask questions of staff, Ms. Polly?
Yes.
Greg, are you up there?
I am here.
May I start?
Yes, sir, man. I don't have the benefit of being able to see you guys, so whoever wants to be next after he's done speaking, let me know and we'll call on you next. Go ahead, Anthony.
We have an issue with a affected party now that's caused a case to come back, which has been delayed again. In that particular case, they went back, challenged it to the city commission, said he was not treated properly as an affected party.
Absolutely.
And it's coming back to us. So it's been my experience in dealing with this, that after watching that play out, which frankly, I disagree with how it went, but that's how it went. Personally, I feel that we would be putting ourselves back in that same position when we have an affected party and we choose to disregard that. So that's going to be my position. I'm citing what we're already dealing with right now in the city commission, remanding it back solely because the affected party, who had very little involvement in that, if I recall, did not have to go to that standard. And so it's coming back to it. So
Right.
that's my position in handling the affected parties and my concern with negating that claim.
Anybody else have their hand up? Who's next?
Yeah, I have a question.
Go ahead, Juan.
I was reading through it. And somewhere it says, this is a yes or no question, and we could talk a little more after. Does this project meet all the thoroughfare guidelines or not? Yes or no?
Currently in its reconfiguration, it does. We're not speaking to the agenda item, though really only as Ms. Cully's status. So the way that
Okay.
Ms. Cully's status,
I'm trying to determine something. That's the thing from what I'm reading, and it's about her status, because she lives 66 feet away from the property. Is that
right,
correct?
and this is why staff has always given a wide discretion, is that the last time it came before the board, staff said it found it generally consistent but had concerns in a few areas, and the board kicked it back to them to do that. So staff has always held the position of, basically, what is the word I'm looking for? Leeway or,
Deference to the.
deference, yeah, to
To the
the
affected party
requester of the
status.
affected
Because,
party.
right, because what it says here is that the project moves closer to the major thoroughfare guidelines, okay? It doesn't say that it meets them. So whatever Mr. Village is saying is incorrect. That's the first thing. The second thing is, the last time we came, there must have been 20 people that showed up from the neighborhood. And the biggest issue is that I asked if there were any extra drawings, and I was told yesterday I didn't have a chance to review it because Sherry told me that this has been pushed, I have an email, until September. So I have not had the chance to do it because I was told by a staff member, which is fair, that this has been moved to next month. So I have not had the chance, like other people, to look at it. So just in that, and I'll show you that email, it's a
No,
problem.
I apologize for that. We did get the request, that continuance is automatic. We had acknowledged Ms. Cully's status as an affected party because we do give wide deference to affected parties. So in our mind, this was a continuance to the September meeting.
But so I didn't have a chance to look at it. I think a lot of the people that showed up last time didn't have a chance to look at it either. So. Because they were.
It hasn't been disseminated, has it?
Yes, the packet was included with the old backup.
I have a question for Aaron, because I'm reading this and I don't see anything that says, okay, can you clarify whether this meets the major thoroughfare design guidelines? Because the attorney for the applicant is saying it does. The staff report has 3 paragraphs, doesn't really clearly state either way. I heard you were saying yes, and now I'm hearing him as saying no.
So the determining body for consistency with the major thoroughfare design guidelines is you, as this board, when you review the case. So staff has given you a recommendation of approval for the item and has stated that that the item is consistent with the major thoroughfare guidelines, and that they have moved further. And what that language was is that they were there were some concerns that staff had identified in the previous version, so they modified and redesigned the project. So that's something we can go through, I think, and that would be up to you to make the final decision.
Obviously, that comes later on when we're not dealing with this affected party status. I just wanted to clear that up because it seems that we're trying to,
Yeah, so it just would be whether, the continuance allows, if you determine that she's an affected party, the continuance granted to affected party affords them extra time to review. If you determine she's not an affected party,
And you want to grant a continuance, you still can.
yes, exactly, thank you. So if you say, okay, she's not an affected party, but we need more time because there was a confusion and then whatever, all that kind of.
A board member can look at it.
Right.
So that would be a reason for continuance if you didn't want to honor her status as an affected party, but wanted to continue the item. Or if you wanted to acknowledge her as an affected party, and then she has already requested a continuance, the continuance is automatic. So you can't deny her continuance if you acknowledge her affected party status.
absolutely.
So,
Would that continuance be for some limited time? I mean, what actually would happen?
right, so a continuance is one continuance, and she can walk you through that.
So the continuance is one continuance and it can be no more than 31 days. So it would be, you could reschedule to your next regularly scheduled meeting, which is September 1st, or you could set a special meeting to hear it in between now and then.
Is September 1st? Well, that's a Wednesday.
Number second.
Okay, so it's not Labor Day. I mean, Memorial. It's not Labor Day.
Not like
Okay. Because now, this information that Juan was talking about in the package, and is that when they came to make some changes or whatever it was that created the opportunity for them, I say them, meaning the applicant, to come back, did they update any of their artist renderings or anything like that to show what it was they planned on doing and moving? And 'cause I did not see that in the backup package. It was online.
Yeah, that comes in your link. So for ADA compliance, we can't put the plans online. So you have to access the plans through the link that Sherry sends you in the email. So that is, and we would prefer to put the plans online. But if we do that, we can get sued by people looking for ADA compliance.
Right.
To make a site plan ADA compliance. But for the people who are in the public and who would like a copy of the plans, they can always email staff at pzoning@lakeworthbeachfl.gov, and we're happy to provide them the link of the plans. It's all public information.
And you're saying that is also included with the notice that Sherry sends out?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's included in the email link. You get your full packet in the email link with the plan sets.
Greg, I can confirm for you because I've looked at the last set of the backup and this, and it is different. Although that's not what we're on at the moment. Just to answer your question, I have them both on my screen right now. They're different.
Okay, well, I must not be downloading something properly because I've never seen it.
We'll get you some
Help you
computer
tomorrow,
classes.
Greg. We can call you tomorrow and help you.
Great, thank you.
I have a question.
I'm going to add, in case any other board members as well, it's my own personal opinion that I think we have a David and Goliath situation where we have a homeowner who is not familiar with the legal terms, who's not familiar with code, and a professional attorney. So I would fully expect that the response from the attorney would certainly,
Of course,
putting it direct, bury any homeowner.
absolutely.
And we're going to have to weigh that in as well. My own feeling is if the project is so good, and I've looked at the project, I'm not going to make my comments on it because we're not at that point yet. But if the project is so good to stand on its merit, it should have no problem making it past us, giving 30 days to the neighbors to address that. I don't see that as being a bad thing in the way we do this. So that's it for all I have to say. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How long have you lived there?
You asking me?
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah, I've actually lived there for 15 years, from 2006 when my developer first developed the project according to major thoroughfare guidelines to the T. Parking in the back. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And
Do you have the packet? Do you get the packet that we have?
Yep.
So did you see, and I might be jumping ahead and it might not be relevant. And Erin, if you think that this is not the appropriate time, you can cut me off. But I did see that there was a letter from somebody asking that we deny this, that a variance request, and that they've reduced the per unit living space by 30%, and that they can no longer claim that this is low density. And I think that might have been what Portia was maybe alluding to earlier. I'm not sure. Is that an issue or not really?
Laura, the reason why I asked for the continuance wasn't, I just hadn't had a chance to really look through everything. And I couldn't even speak to that in particular. What most rankled me was the issue, again, that we had last time, which is the little pathway that they want to take that over again. So that's what got me going as an affected party. And I really appreciate that David and Goliath statement that was just made. There's 7 of you guys and 1 of me. I haven't been able to bring any neighbors in, and this is super, super unfair. And you guys are like a charity, nonprofit. It's so unfair.
Chairman Rice, may I address the board?
Yes, you may. Go ahead, Dave.
Still didn't get really the answer to my question though. Erin, is there a request for a variance to lower the living space per unit?
There is a request for a waiver or a relaxation of the code requirements. This is a plan development. And
Okay.
so as part of the plan development, they're asking for a unit size reduction, but they are providing common area space. So that's part of the actual request that would go over when the item is heard.
Okay, all right, thank you.
David, go ahead.
Thank you, sir. Just so the board is aware, being considered an effective party essentially provides two things to Ms. Coley. One thing would be the continuance, which we keep discussing about. And that the second thing is pursuant to the city's code, it would allow Ms. Coley during, if this was continued, it would allow her during the September 1st meeting to provide a presentation, to allow her to do cross-examination, to allow her to bring witnesses, to question the applicant, staff. So instead of having a traditional two-party interaction between the applicant and the board and staff, now we're adding a third party. And based off our experience from last time, it lacked decorum. So if it appeased the board for continuance, I think that we would, concede and allow the continuance to allow all the board members an opportunity to review the plans. As it relates to Ms. Coley's ability to provide her own presentation and cross-examination, that is our largest objection. I mean, she has her right to provide testimony for 3 minutes during public comment, but we would prefer not to have her, interaction during the public hearing. So, and just one more thing, just to clear up two other comments. One is based off the property appraiser's website, Ms. Coley lives at the back end of the property. She lives 150 feet from the property, from property line to property line. Second, I never stated in my presentation that the property regarding the major thoroughfare guidelines. What I said was that the property is 100% compliant with the city's code, which is what we are beholden to. So there is a difference between major thoroughfare guidelines and being consistent with code. We have to be consistent with code. And that's why I said the statement that I said. Thank
Well, if
you.
you're asking for a variance, how are you consistent with code?
Pursuant to your planned development, it allows for the relaxation of code requirements. So if the waiver was approved, it de facto says that we are compliant with code.
So now you're saying that you're not compliant with the thoroughfare guidelines. Is that correct? That's a yes or no question. Yes or no?
Yes, to our.
You are, right?
plans,
You are?
provide a project that adhere to the spirit of the guidelines, which reference, if you ever read the guidelines on one of the pages, it always references back to the code that guideline is drafted from. We have to be in compliant with those codes for the project.
Look, I'm an architect. I work in this business. I live very close to that site. As a matter of fact, across the street. I want that building to go up. I want it to go up correctly. Okay. I'm very for it being built because it's been an empty lot there. But the issue is the building needs to, the last time you were here, we asked you, please, could you meet the major thoroughfare guidelines? And you haven't. And if you want, I could show you 10 ways you did it. Okay. So it's weird just from what I've seen, and I haven't been able to look at the rest of it. So I'm just kind of like, I'm hearing this thing and I really don't understand where it's going, backward or forward, okay, with your speech. You're going into legal jargon, which obviously Ms. Cully is way over her head, and none of the neighborhood's able to come and say anything about it.
Well, this effective party determination is potentially infringing upon our property rights. So that's why we are objecting to it.
Hey, Juan, are you an affected party then?
No, I'm not. I didn't sign up as an affected party.
I'm gonna add one more comment, and since we keep opening the door here.
Go ahead.
And I think some good free legal advice was just offered to Portia now, and probably some things she had no idea she could do. She's granted affected party status. Coming back to that, I don't know that, once again, a homeowner is going to come up with a compelling 10-minute presentation and cross-examination. Land use attorney. I just don't see that as being a huge factor, again, in my opinion, and is in fact that moving me more from the status of affected party. I want to add one thing, staff, and this is for you guys. If they're conceding the continuance versus the affected party, are we able to ask Portia what she would like, if she would like to step back from that and accept the board granting a continuance, or are we just simply one or the other at this point, affected party or not?
I think you need to make a decision on whether she's an affected party.
Okay.
Once you decide if she's an affected party, if she is an affected party, the continuance will be automatic. If she's not an affected party, then you have the option then as a second action to grant continuance.
Can I call for a vote between the board? Asking that question, if she is, if we consider her to be an affected party?
The reason why I was raising that, Greg, is I guess almost from a compromise standpoint, if her main purpose is to get more time to evaluate this and speak to her neighbors, which is what I heard. I didn't hear anything at all about a presentation and cross-examination. She may choose to say, that's all I want, to which the applicant is amenable. So that was why I was asking staff if she has that. Or if we can-
If we grant her the status,
You would have to wait, right, you'd have to say, if you grant a continuance, I will relinquish my request to be treated as granted as a affected party. That was based on my question, whether she can have that option or not, or whether we should. I guess that's better for our.
I think if you want to give her that option, yeah.
Okay.
And why does she have to decide that at all?
She doesn't have to decide that. I'm offering a suggestion for an option. She doesn't have to make that decision.
My only issue is that I think if she, or you, let's say, does that stop everybody else in the neighborhood?
It does if they grant one. One is granted, correct? This came up a while back when this whole thing was going on because there was somebody who was trying to game it and basically run out the clock on the applicant. And that was determined to be relatively unfair. So the commission did make it so that there's one continuance. So when I hear things like it's going to start affecting people's property rights, I don't know if a 30-day delay is going to really affect someone's property rights. I suppose you could stretch that into how that next one goes and argue it depending on what hasn't happened yet.
Just for clarification, Ms. Cully is the only affected party for this project. If she is acknowledged as an affected party, and continuance is granted, no other affected parties could be acknowledged for the next one, because this is the item will not be advertised again. It'll be a continued item from today.
Right.
Aaron, I didn't hear a word you said. It's coming garbled.
yeah, we're getting reverb.
There can only be one affected party. So if she, one continuance on the affected party. So if she's granted that status, it just comes back on the first and that's that. Won't be re-advertised.
I just want to add one thing because I'm listening to all these things. If she does come back,
But you might
it'd be to state what she needs to go. If she does come back, wouldn't she be allowed to state what she's, I mean, you're coming back to state something, to talk about it, and to give a 3-minute presentation when the other side has a full hour to say something, probably isn't so fair.
Fair enough. I move to treat Portia Coley as an affected party.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion from the board members?
I would like to just be heard on this briefly.
Okay, and state your, I can't see who I'm talking to.
This is Zay Chomsky.
Dave, okay, go ahead, Dave.
I am a little concerned with the issue that Mr. Millage brought up in the case law, and that is, has Ms. Cully put forth competent substantial evidence that she is an affected party? And there's 2 prongs to affected party is what I'm hearing. There's, 1, you're adversely affected, and 2, you're aggrieved in some different way. I understand that she is pro se, she does not have an attorney here, but I have not heard anything read into the record or spoken that would satisfy that second prong, that she is aggrieved in some way that similarly situated homeowners are not. From what I've heard in the discussion, I do not think that the Florida law gives her standing as an affected party here. I understand that the way that this city has traditionally handled these matters is with deference and everything, but this is a legal proceeding to some extent. And if the Lord's Place wanted to take us up on appeal to either the 15th Circuit or the 4th DCA, my concern is that, you know, notwithstanding what the city commission does to whatever we recommend, my concern is that we get reversed a year from now on this, because I do not think that she has affected party status that would essentially turn this proceeding where it's the Lord's Place as the applicant and us as the city into almost, you know, Ms. Cully versus the Lord's Place. The affected party status is like the board has mentioned, does a lot more than just give her a continuance. It really elevates her above all other people in the public who wish to make a 3-minute comment. And I just haven't heard anything to that effect on the second prong.
Where did we get the 3-minute for an affected party?
Minutes is a general public comment that anyone from the public can make.
Right, I understand where it comes from, but
A 10-minute presentation, you know, cross-examination rights that no one else in the community has. The continue, you know, like I appreciate the vice chair's attempt to reach a consensus. I thought that was a great idea. I think no one could, you know, reasonably say a continuance is unreasonable, but I just don't think elevating this nearby homeowner to affected party status is appropriate under the law.
then why would we even have it?
Yeah.
I thought we.
I'm sorry, what?
Then why would we even have an affected party
Well,
status?
you know, there's 2 prongs to the affected party status. You have to be, you know, close in proximity and then something else. The law leaves that open for some crazy situation because it essentially elevates what is just an applicant seeking permission from the city to do something on their property to almost a lawsuit between a neighbor and an applicant when, you know, Ms. Cully hasn't taken the Lord's Place to court. We're not court, we're just, you know, we're the planning and zoning board. So it almost changes this into an adversarial proceeding, which I don't think is really called for in this situation.
That's why I was questioning her at the very beginning of this discussion tonight. And we've been, how long, Aaron, how long have we been discussing this so far? Have you got a timer going?
I don't, Mr. Chairman. I will just mention that, you know, if the board were to deny Ms. Polly's affected party status, it would be a change in policy, the board's policy from previous hearings. And just to note that, you know, maybe some summary, depending on the direction the board wanted to go, a summary of how you'd want us to inform or the types of information you'd like us to look specifically for affected parties. As we said, we offer a lot of deference to affected parties in the neighborhood. And so we just would probably, if this is depending on where the board lands, we would just probably need some guidance from the board to make sure that we can help homeowners who are seeking affected party status on other projects in the future, so that we have kind of a consistent rhythm with how the board is going to approach these.
Juan, did you say something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I second the motion to agree with the affected party because for a few reasons. I think at this point, we said that it has to have something else to do with it. She mentioned property values, she mentioned some things about the guidelines. I believe at some point or another, that is, and we've had people before this board many times in the last couple of years that have had the same thing. One, which has come back because they didn't have a chance to have an attorney. That's another angle, okay? So we're back to the same thing. And I believe that this Cully is one of those people who have done the same. So the way the board's behaved in the past, we have precedents for that.
I just heard some precedent raised from the attorney in the Circuit Courts of Appeal in Florida, which is my concern.
But
The There's no doubt it's a tough issue. I mean, it's effective party status is difficult to deal with on an advisory board level. It's really typically done in court, and we have this provision in our local code to allow some relief, and it was put there years ago and then was expanded upon with the previous city commission with concerns over development projects that were coming forward. The right to the continuance, and that's kind of the history on that, this continuance and some of the other things that happened because of some other projects that where there felt like there was not enough discussion or acknowledgements of rights of property owners in the immediate vicinity to participate in the meeting thoroughly. So this is where all this kind of continuance affected party stuff was kind of if you guys recall the code amendment we did in the fall. So that gives you kind of the context of where it came from. But it is, as Elizabeth stated, you are right, Zaid. I mean, it's a legal standard, and it does identify, it does talk about the statute, and the statute does talk about the fact that its proximity is not the only component, that there is a second component. And I think that my point to you all as just as staff offering you guidance is whatever you do, we just have to do in a consistent way. So however you're going to treat somebody now, we have to continue to treat all the other future applicants.
Absolutely. And my thing is just, so I think the best way to do that is to follow the code definition, which is that two-prong, because the more you leave it to discretion of the board, we're pretty deferential, but we start ignoring code provisions, that opens you up to all sorts of potential problems.
Yeah.
You said for the circuit court, what would it be? Say next year they'd be back here arguing about it?
Well, if the Lord's Place wants to take us up on appeal and challenge our determination that Ms. Cully is an affected party, and it sounds like there's some favorable case law for them out there, then that could potentially delay this project a very long time.
So why wouldn't they want to get it done in September and get a good plan in?
His legal strategy is whether to take us up on appeal or not. He may decide not to do that. I'm just saying, right now, we don't know whether he's going to do that.
I think it gets a little complicated. I think what they want to do is push through. If they came back and provided a decent plan, they say they have, gave everybody the chance to look at it, get something approved. And that's what I think probably should happen.
I think that no one is suggesting that they shouldn't have, that a continuance is inappropriate here, which would give everyone the time to come out and make a public comment. I think you're confusing the issue a little bit. I think that that the issue here is whether we should elevate one nearby homeowner to party status. And what I have been saying this whole time is that I don't think that there's any competent or substantial evidence on one of the two prongs of the city's code definition for affected party status.
I think we all understand the issue already, and we started to take a vote. We're just kind of really repeating ourselves here. So.
We are talking in circles. Yes, we are.
Yes, we are. We understand.
I want to add one thing. This is a recommendation that we're making as well, just to keep that in mind.
Exactly.
We're going to make a recommendation to the city commission. That doesn't, of course, take away from any of the discussion. Just a reminder that our say isn't going to be final on that as well, but certainly some good points raised.
Mr. Chairman, I believe there was a vote on the floor regarding the determination to approve Ms. Cully's status as an affected party. And is that motion still in second still stand, I believe?
My motion
it is still out there.
Okay.
No, it was seconded. I seconded it and Juan seconded it.
Yes, it was.
Ready,
Twice.
Chairman, then to do a roll call vote? Are we not? Would you like to call for a roll call vote?
I could, yeah, let's do a roll call vote. Sherry, wanna do a roll call vote, please?
Sure. And so this vote will be for the approving of Ms. Cully as an affected party.
Correct.
Greg Bryce?
I should be last on this, but okay.
Okay, we'll do you last. Okay, you can reserve that. You have the prerogative. We'll start at the bottom. Juan?
Yes.
Zaid?
No.
Ed?
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Anthony,
Aye.
and Greg.
I will say yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
So if you all could please make a formal motion, even though it's just a motion to please continue the item to the September 1st meeting.
I move to continue this item to the September 1st meeting.
And does a second go with that?
Second.
It goes with that? Okay.
Do we need a roll call on that one?
Sure, I'll do roll call on that one as well. And we'll do it the same way. Juan,
Yes.
Zadie,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
Anthony.
Aye.
And Greg.
And I'm still a yes.
Motion carries. The item will be continued to September 1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I guess we can move right along with setting this case aside till next month, correct? Correct.
Yes.
Okay. That being said,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that concludes all the items under new business. We do not have any planning issues. And I don't believe we have any members of the public as well who want to make a non-agenda public comment.
okay, good. If we were, they either fell asleep or we ran them off. Any board member comments? I can't see if anybody's raising their hand. If they are, please let me know.
I'll make a quick comment. Just welcome to our 2 new board members.
Please.
Second
Please.
time around, so he's a veteran now, but welcome, gentlemen. We appreciate you guys joining us in your input. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's great
Thank
to be
you.
here.
I will,
And
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, I just may offer one slight administrative item. You may have seen a bunch of Zoom meetings go out and then get retracted. We are trying to just figure out how to do something to make the public web portal access easier, and it was a little technical error. So stay tuned. You're going to start getting your links through an Outlook appointment or a calendar appointment, not through Zoom anymore. And then it will have the web link in there because it's going to be set up as a standard reoccurring meeting for you all. If you are remoting in, you'll need to go to that calendar appointment and not to your email and Zoom for future meetings if you are not in person. Yes.
Quick question, that's for us, what about for the general public? How, are they able to attend the meeting by Zoom, and how would they do so?
Absolutely. So this is part of why we're doing the setup for the reoccurring meeting, is to kind of take a little, basically it's a back of house thing we're doing to make it a little logistics easier on staff. Right now, every time we change a meeting, we have to update the web portal. There's a public comment web portal. And when you choose to select a public comment, you can either choose to type in the public comment, or you can choose to speak the public comment yourself. If you choose to speak the public comment yourself, you get an invitation from Zoom to register for the meeting. So we're having so many meetings and we're all going back to online meetings. There's a lot of changing meetings all the time. And so we're trying to kind of streamline that setup so we have a more standard meeting, and then those links are more automated. And then also those links to public comment are more populated throughout the website to ease access so our public can easily find the public comment portal for our advisory boards.
I'm all for that.
Greg, one more comment. I know you can't see, but here in the chambers, I feel like I'm driving down I-95 with your face on the big billboards.
Terminator.
You go quick.
And there's a problem with that too? Come on, geez.
You should wear that stuff sometimes, you know.
Call you the Chairminator instead.
On that note, I think we were at the adjournment item, Mr. Chairman.
You do? Well, okay.
This is
One
fate.
thing at a time. One thing at a time. Okay, new board members, welcome once again. I know it's a little intimidating, especially the first first few meetings to get your feet up under you, figures out who's who and who's kind of leading and who's kind of wagging the tail. So just bear with us and we will learn as we go. And with that being said, I will call this meeting adjourned at where's my clock at? At 7:52 PM. Thank you, guys.